Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sunshine Islands. It is the night of the 24th day of fall, and when we wake up tomorrow morning, Witch Princess is going to have our baby. I had to look back at previous recordings to figure out when my child was going to be born because I kind of forgot on which day we got the exact pregnancy announcement, and it's kind of in a little stretch here between two different festivals, so it's kind of in the middle of a busy week, but that's okay. It'll make it nice and easy to remember, and it's about a month before Witch Princess's birthday and our anniversary. So we've waited 2 whole months now. Witch Princess has been pregnant since the spring. So I'm tired of waiting. Let's do this. I am ready to be a parent. Virtually, of course. And we have Dr. Trent as well as Felicia helping out with the birth. If you're playing as a female character, it'll be your husband pacing around on screen instead of our character here. And we are having a girl, which is really exciting because I find with these games where they kind of just randomly assign you a gender of child, I always seem to get a male child, which is completely fine with me. But it is cool just to see a different outcome. The baby looks just like you, Witch Princess. I'm so happy for you. Oh, here you are at long last. We have to give our baby a great name. Any ideas? I kind of wish that this game would give me a random name generator because I am so terribly awful at picking names. And I actually wrote down a bunch of really cool, sort of spooky, witchy type of names that I could think of that would be suitable for our baby. And a lot of them are just too long to adhere to the 6 character limit that we have. But with that being said, there's also a lot of really fantastic options. So I wrote down a bunch of names and then I kind of just stared at the list for a few days, and the one that sort of just felt really good and I wanted to go with is the name Raven. I think that that's a really interesting, cool name that I can see Witch Princess naming her child. Not a name I would name a baby IRL, personally, but we can kind of just have some fun with this, obviously. So we have a new baby daughter. And that completes our family. In this game, you are limited just to 1 child, so we will not be having any more children after this. Once you have 1 baby, that is it. And as exciting as it is to have a baby, there are some serious downfalls with how long it takes your child to grow up. So unfortunately, now that our baby is born, she is just going to be laying in her crib for 2 years. Yes, you heard me, 2 years. It takes 2 years for our child to grow up and get out of its crib, and at that point, we can give her gifts and actually start to befriend her. But until then, the only thing that we can do is just walk up to the baby bed and sort of talk to the baby. Now you do get some heart point increases from that. I think you only get about 100 friend points per day by actually speaking to your child. But that's all we can do. Unfortunately, that's it. There's nothing else. So it's basically just a waiting game at this point. And that's not only frustrating just because it's neat to be able to interact with your child, but it's also frustrating because our child has a sunstone for us, and the sunstone that we get from our child involves us giving gifts to him or her. And because we cannot give any gifts until 2 years have passed, we just have to wait. And that was one of the reasons that I gave sort of a 5 to 6 year sort of timeline for this game, because I knew that this was in all likelihood the very, very last sunstone that we were going to get. I was thinking it was probably going to be the trees. The trees will take at least another year to be able to get our sunstones from, and then after that it will probably be the sunstone from our child. And then once the child gets out of the baby bed and they start to crawl around, you then have to wait another 2 years for them to walk around. So it's a flaw, in my opinion, to have to wait such an incredibly long period of time. But in this game's defense, it is not the only game that does this. The other game that comes to mind is Grand Bazaar, which is another game where it just takes forever and ever and ever for your child to be born and to grow up to an age where you can actually interact with them. So after your child is born, your spouse's dialogue will change. I'm very happy that Witch Princess is happy, of course. And that's pretty much it. As you can see in the assets menu, your child will now show up right beside your spouse. And they do start out with quite a few hearts by default, which is nice. And like I said, there's not really a lot that we can do to change that at the moment. And I do believe also your child shows up in your villager list. Your most precious child whom you love with all your heart is the description, which is quite sweet. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to go over in terms of what we can do with our child as of right now. And aside from that, I have mostly just been playing the game. The last time I recorded, we took part in the dog festival. So it's been a little bit over a week. I attended the rice festival on the 24th, yesterday, and I was given 14 rice balls for shipping the rice that I did this year. So again, that wasn't something that I recorded just because it wasn't important and it wasn't any different from last year when we attended the rice festival for the first time. It's not something that you can win Wonderfuls in. So I waited until today for our big news before recording. We have the crop festival coming up in a few days, and I'm very happy to report that the yams that I planted in this little plot here actually did come out to be a quality, which is absolutely perfect. That's exactly what we need to win our crop festival in a few days. In the last video, I talked about how I wasn't aware of any other way to increase a crop's quality other than leaving it in the ground for a few days, until I read up on it a little bit and I realized that apparently you can increase the crop's quality by giving it the exact amount of sun and water points. So I calculated exactly how many the yams needed to fully mature, and it worked. So it actually did pay off just to test that out and to do a little bit of research. And all my crops are coming in nicely. Because yams come in so quickly, I will still be able to get quite a few yields off of these before the end of the season. Eggplants, I might be able to get one more if I'm lucky before I have to chop these down. And I do believe I saw that my spinach was mature, yes. And I should have carrots probably tomorrow or the next day. So I've had a lot of luck with crops this season. I haven't had anything die. I've had everything come in pretty quickly. And even taking the yellow wonderful out of my watering can hasn't seemed to really slow me down any. I've still been able to do all of my farm work and water everything and go about my day, and I still have tons of time left, which is great. So I better soak it up while I can, because the season is coming to an end soon and we're not going to be able to grow anything in the winter. Although if we do get a chance to put our greenhouse in, we can actually grow some stuff if we want to. And everything in the orchard has been going all right as well. Still struggling to get as many fall crops as I would like to, just because they're so slow to come in. Grapes are very, very slow. It is sort of helped a little bit by the fact that you get 2 grapes off of each tree. But we are looking at a significantly lower amount of fall crops versus summer crops or fruit. I guess fruit is more accurate. So we will definitely be wanting those trees to come in that I had to replant, my apple trees and my grape tree. And we'll need another year. I'm hoping just 1 more year and not 2, but we have to wait for our child to grow up at this point anyway, so if it takes 2 years, it takes 2 years. But the fruits are all coming in at S quality, which is fantastic. They're selling for a lot of money. And you can see here the other 3 yields of yams that I got were B quality, and if I just left them in the ground for a few days, I may be able to get an A quality, but I didn't want to take that chance and potentially lose out on another festival. So fortunately I've got these wonderful A quality yams that I can use for the festival, which is kind of now going to be our next thing. And I've been obviously tending to the animals. I did some fishing yesterday at the rice festival, and I shipped those fish for a little bit of extra money, and I am definitely not hurting in the cash department. And I've just been kind of carefully biding my time with the harvest sprites. I've been going over and giving the sprites a gift per day, and I'm waiting for 1 more dark green harvest sprite to move in before going and getting that greenhouse upgrade. But I could purchase it right now with my own money if I wanted to. I think this is the most money I've ever had, and I've barely touched it. Although, looking at the totals, we made more in summer than I thought. Wow. Well, okay, I think I'm still gonna make much more in fall because I've got 5 days left, but you can see looking at these numbers, you know, 10,000, 15,000, 8,000, over 20,000. I mean, it's so easy at this point to make money. I wish it was that easy in real life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You don't even think about it and you're just like, oh man, I've got all this money. I wonder what I can spend it on. Wouldn't that be nice? Alright, well, I've got a few days here. I've got 2 days to play, and then we will be going to the Crop Festival. And that's probably when I'm going to just sort of do a review of the entire season and do any sort of other updates that I want to do, just because I'm going to be skipping out on the Pumpkin Festival most likely. So that's my plan at the current time. Hopefully I can find something else more exciting to talk about, but I don't think I'm gonna top the birth of my daughter. I think that that's very, very exciting, and despite the fact that we do have to wait a long time, it is just one more goal accomplished in this game, and we do still have a lot of gameplay left. So having our child grow up during that time is definitely helpful, rather than waiting a year or something like that, because at that point I think the game would just feel really, really long and sort of drawn out. So anyways, that is where we're at. That's what I'm doing. That's all I had to say. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.